into the unknown, into the unseen, the unexplainable, and the unbelievable. Join our strange journeys. Are you ready? Hey guys, and we are back. It's Strange Journeys time, and I am your ghost host, Tom, and we have with us today down below, that's Dagny, and my lovely wife, Lynn, over there in the corner, and our special guest, Julie Ann Gordon. Hey, look at here.
Hi.
Hey, we got Lewis
Strange
Powell
people.
chiming in. Yeah, Lewis, thank you for being here, buddy. And we're going to have him in 2 weeks with our Haunted Bridges. I've called it Bridges of Sorrow show. And he was with us last season for a couple of shows talking about a Southern Spirit Guide. And then we did Haunted Theaters. So we're going to have him back in 2 weeks for the Bridges of Sighs. Yep. He's saying, hey, y'all. Hey, Lewis. All right. And like I said, we have special guests with us, Julie Ann Gordon, today. And before we get into the show, she's going to tell us a little bit about herself, and then we're going to go on. So, Julie, tell us who you are and what's up.
Well, I don't know how special I am, but I sure am proud to be here, and especially proud to be among my tribe, which are people who believe in the unbelievable. And to me, all things supernatural and paranormal are merely natural and normal. I am professionally, I am the film commissioner, which means I bring in film and television to the area, which is Bay County and Panama City Beach. And I've been doing that for almost 30 years.
Wow.
But I lived in a house for 20 years that was quite inhabited by a lot of different spirits. But through my business as well, we've also been able to experience a lot of different phenomena. Just with different energies that that affects electronics. And you guys know that's the first thing that the spirits are attracted to are cameras and flashlights and lights and iPads and things. So it's been very interesting to be one of those who understands and believes all the spirit things that can happen in the spirit world, and then be able to work with it. And we produce movies, music videos, all kinds of big things. I've got a couple music videos coming up this month, but I give the same love and attention to all the little first time indie videos that we do, the big boys. So
Cool.
just happens to be what I do. I love everybody the same. They're all one of the goddess's little creatures, and it's a thrill to be here with you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you hanging out with us today. And she's going to be telling us some of the stories of living in that house, because that's how we came across her, because we mentioned something about it and she said her house was on a ley line. So we're going to be talking about that in a little bit. But as we go on into the show, I said we're going to, instead of doing ET updates, everybody tell them about what's going on, we're going to do ET facts. So we're each going to share our favorite cryptid. All right, Lynn, you want to go first? You're muted.
I said I like fairies and leprechauns.
Okay, elaborate.
Dying here.
Leprechauns, which if you get down to the real stories, are really evil little critters. They don't really hide in the trees in Pritchard and
Yeah.
show themselves to people on St. Patty's Day.
Right.
But they are, both of them are tricksters who seem friendly and wonderful until you get to know them, and they really don't have your best interest at heart.
Well, that's one of the things we picked up in our show on the fairies with Elizabeth Parker, which they can be good, but you better be careful and not cross them, because they could really mess you up.
Be weird.
Dagny, your favorite cryptid? All right, you're muted or something. I can't hear you. You had it working a while ago, just before the show started.
Technical difficulties. That's usually me
Okay,
having problems.
It's probably good. Okay.
Jeez.
It was working before the show. What happened?
It was working fine. I don't know what the heck. I was so excited that I had it figured out.
So what happens when we get all these strange people together?
There you go.
Maybe it's that electronic paranormal intervention going on.
Well, what was it last week when we started? Just as the intro video quit, we had music playing. It sounded like some kind of chimes, and we're like, what is going on?
Wasn't me. My chimes ran a bag.
Yeah. All right, Dagny.
My favorite cryptid, I want to classify aliens in there, but I don't know if that classifies correctly. I looked up I looked up a lot of the interpretations of that word, so I didn't go with that because it's not an animal or a plant and blah blah blah. But I'd say it was my favorite out of all the ones, which I spent hours looking at them. I got lost in the rabbit hole. Was a Sphinx. I think the Sphinx is the coolest.
Oh wow! That was.
Yeah, it caught me off guard too. What did you think I was gonna pick?
Nessie.
That was what I would pick if I had to. Yep. I had a feeling you'd know. I've always had some kind of connection to Nessie, like special interest, but I don't know why. But I just really found the Sphinx pretty amazing. It goes back to Greek times, Egyptian times, and it's a trickster also. It sometimes will stop battling just to like riddle with someone just for the entertainment.
Cool. All right, Julie, do you have a favorite cryptid?
I have dragons all over my house.
Oh, there we go.
I mean, I have them everywhere. And my dad was in the military, and so he was in the Orient for 16 years, and so he started sending them to me when I was little, and so he's even got pictures of him with Komodo dragons.
Wow.
Cool.
Which, I mean, they're real things, and the acid in their mouth makes things, steam, so it actually looks like things are on fire. But I have them everywhere from my pool. I have aliens at my pool too, but dragons are my absolute favorite. I dragons and mermaids. I think they're one and the same. I think mermaids are just strictly water dragons. But I don't
That's a
think
thought.
I know they were real at some point. And I mean, some of the things that you see now of the people who have pet dragons with their, with their throats, they're real. They're real. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Animals for
Well,
sure.
we posted something on the page a couple of weeks ago about mermaids, and seems like we got a pretty good consensus. We may be doing a show about mermaids in the future. It's not on the schedule yet, but it's one we're thinking about. Well, mine, you're gonna think, okay, this is lame, and is probably everybody's favorite, but Bigfoot or Sasquatch.
I would have totally guessed that.
I mean, because I saw the Patterson Gimlin film back in the 70s on In Search of or Unsolved Mysteries or something. I don't remember what it was, but I have been intrigued ever since. And, I don't. I'm friends on all the different or in all the different groups about Sasquatch and Bigfoot and all that kind of stuff. But we even found a video on YouTube where somebody stabilized the video image and slowed it down and cleared it up. And on our Bigfoot show last season, we played that thing 4 or 5 times during the show and talking over it. And it has always intrigued me. All right.
My
Bigfoot,
grandson.
Bigfoot place in the capital of the headquarters in Oregon, where they have a lot of memorabilia. Especially up there in the Northwest, it's the real deal.
Oh yeah.
Well,
My
Evergreen,
grandson, who
Alabama.
was
Go ahead,
4,
Lynn.
a couple of weeks ago, I asked his mama where he was, and she said he was at his other grandma's in the woods hunting for Bigfoot.
Real thing.
Well,
I was like,
Evergreen,
yeah, we're getting
Alabama.
started young.
Evergreen, Alabama is called the Bigfoot capital of Alabama, and they even have one of the city council members or somebody was somewhere and found like an 8-foot statue of Bigfoot and bought it and had it shipped to Evergreen, and it's sitting there right off the interstate. There's a movie on Prime about Evergreen and the Bigfoot sightings. It's cool. Y'all need to check it out. I can't remember the name of it right now. All right. Remember that we provide these shows first and foremost for your entertainment. Those of you that are watching and who will be watching later. We are not by any means and do not claim to be scholars or experts in any of the topics that we cover. We are simply enthusiasts and storytellers. And we have fun with these topics, but we also respect individual beliefs. Because we've had some special guests that we may not necessarily agree with, but we don't make it an issue ever. We respect everybody's stand and their own personal belief system. And we can learn from it if you keep an open mind. Remember, in our first ghost hunting show, we talked about the believer, the non-believer, the open-minded skeptic, the open-minded believer, and I'm missing one. The non-believer, or did I do that one? Anyway,
No, that's
it.
So if we stay open-minded to all of this, all right. Now, previously on Strange Journeys, we talked about seeing double last time. Any takeaways from that show? Lynn, what were you saying about somebody talking to you about it?
When we went to get our feet done, I was talking to Robert, the guy who runs the place, and he said in Asia, he said, we believe in reincarnation. He said, no, we don't come back as dogs and lizards. He said, unless you've been really, really, really bad. He said, but we believe that you're reincarnated as another person. So when we think about doppelgangers or people who look just alike, it's just that somebody else has been reborn in the same image, and that you just got 2 people who look alike.
That's wild. That's wild. Dagny, any takeaways from last week's show?
I just recalled after the show that there's a girl in my college that everyone always calls me by her name, and she calls me. We get confused all the time. And I was in a class with her for the first time after about 2 years of this, and it was incredible. We were so much alike. Like, we freaked each other out, and both of us knew sign language, and we cheated. I don't normally cheat. That's not normal for me or for her.
Okay, now that could have just been.
And the teacher was really mean and not a good teacher. And
y'all could have just been twins separated at birth. All right. Well, that was a really fun show, and the story that Tim shared just blew me away the first time I heard it about him. They were investigating in the cemetery, and him and their tech guy, Eric, was walking through, taking pictures and checking everything out. And after they'd been out there, what did he say, about an hour to an hour and a half? His
something
wife,
like that,
his wife pulls up in the car and says, "Hey, you're not supposed to be out here by yourself." And he says, "I'm not by myself. Eric is here with me." And he turned, and there was nobody with him. And she said, "Eric's not with you. He's in the car here with me." And he says he bent down and looked, and there was Eric in the car with her. That was just freaky. And then, of course, the guy that went to the cemetery and saw their car move by itself uphill after it was put in neutral. And then they found baby handprints all over it. And then his friends kept seeing him where he wasn't at. He would be in a different place, and his friends would see him. Those were just wild. All right. So if you haven't seen Seeing Double, it's on our YouTube page. So go back and check that out. It's also on Facebook. And you can rewatch those fairy tales with Elizabeth and anything from the first season. Now, we want to ask for your help. If you can help us and become a patron on Patreon. And there's 5 different levels now. I added a 5th level that gives you even more swag. Like every 3 months, you get either a sticker, a cup, a mug, a T-shirt, and I think a long sleeve tee. After you keep it up. That's one thing I learned about Patreon is that you don't get the free swag right off the bat. you keep it up a few months, and then they'll send out your free swag. So, and if you're watching on YouTube, please remember to subscribe to the channel. We just had a new subscriber today, a guy named Kirby, or a person named Kirby. That could be a woman. I don't know. Thank you, Kirby, for subscribing. That was just I got the notification a few minutes before the show started. So if you're watching on YouTube, please remember to subscribe, sign up for notifications, share the videos. Oh, you know the spiel. Okay, so do all that, please. All right, before we get into the sightings for this show, I want to remind you that Valentine's Day is coming up, and we have some special stuff in our Strange Journey stuff store. Can y'all see that?
Tiny, but yeah.
All right. Now, our special Valentine's Day outer or wear T-shirts. I may look normal, but my heart belongs to Sasquatch. And another one that says, I may look normal, but my heart belongs to Nessie.
Damon's going to have her a new T-shirt come Valentine's Day.
I think I need a new T-shirt.
Well, here's one. I may look normal, but my heart belongs to fairies. So go ahead and get your Valentine's Day attire. Oh, and here's the one. I had not planned on making a T-shirt for this show, but I was making something for the screen here, and it looked so cool. I said, "Well, let's just do it on a T-shirt." I thought that looked pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm sketching right now as you're talking, and
Cool.
I'm sketching about ley lines.
Okay.
I'm using that symbol a little bit. I love that idea, the compass, with this idea.
Okay. All right. Strange sightings for this week, just before we get into ley lines. I had one I was wanting to use about a sighting over in Pakistan, but it was one of those videos that I felt like I needed to get permission for, and I requested permission, and I didn't get that permission in time. So I was just digging around trying to find something. I came across this, and this is YouTube user Happy Fox Productions uploaded this video on September 1, 2020. So it was just a few months ago, but the video was shot in 2018, but they waited, and you'll see this on the video. So basically all I've done was upload the video here with our strange sightings intro thing on it. And but what he says in the description, he said, this video was captured during a vacation. We've been holding onto it for our own reasons. Now, their channel is based on filmmaking, so it's easy to believe this was altered in some way. So, but they're saying we can do it, but we didn't. We have the ability, but we didn't. So after they've been on vacation, we checked our security camera to see if something unusual happened. And this is what they got. See what you think about this. Well,
I'm seriously a little bit scared. I'm cool
was
with
pretty
ghosts
wild.
and stuff, but when you include animals, it scares me more.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why.
They see.
Yep.
They see. They haven't been taught to have that filter up, so they see,
Mhm.
especially cats.
Shoot out.
I mean,
Look how that cat's just poised the whole time.
Yeah, that one cat sitting up on the bed watching it all. Like I was watching a movie. The other cat just walked
Was
through.
it
Like,
just me, or did that table in the very forefront,
it
did that
moved.
not move
Yeah.
a bit first?
It moved.
Did you see
It
that
It
too?
moved.
yeah, hang on, let's do it this
Yeah.
way.
But then the
I'm
image
gonna
come
mute
to the
that.
doorway. I've been there, done that 20 years, man. It's a real thing. And cats, they know.
Oh
That's
yeah.
why
Well,
they're
I was
Wiccan
thinking
beings,
about
man.
that door closing, and I thought, if it had been an air conditioner, then it would have just sucked it on closed if the air came
Yeah.
on and closed the door, but
Yeah.
it closed way too slow.
Well, look at this. If you see the little green boxes popping up,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's a sensor they have on their camera.
Trying
And
to
it
focus on
popped
the
up.
face.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it popped up over here at the beginning.
Yeah.
But yeah, the table they're moving
Great
right
video.
there. You know, and
Great
the green
video.
box popped up on that.
See the table move? Yeah.
Yep. And then of
There's
course
something
they
moving.
slowed
That's
it down
imaging.
again.
Yeah.
See the green box, and then the green box over here. Watch it. It's like it's trying to focus on something there. Boom.
It said,
When that shadow moves in, that green box pops
Yeah.
up.
It looks
Yeah.
like a little old lady walking on a stick.
Look at that cat following.
That's awesome.
Like, what?
Yep.
I love it. I love it.
I can't
Like,
believe
what
that
are y'all
cat
doing?
stayed poised like that the whole time. That's
Oh,
so
yeah.
odd.
It's attuned to something going on. And then the door closes.
And then that table.
Uh-huh. And that
That's
green
awesome.
box. Yeah.
Now it says
Yeah.
that it panned off the area onto a wall and stayed that way till they got back.
Right.
When you see that table shift, I think it's knocking the camera to the side.
Yep.
It's going that way. Yeah.
Well, that was
Pretty cool.
like I said, that was a cool sightings video.
It's awesome.
Now-
I'm much more comfortable around the dead than I am the alive. Okay. So,
Okay, just remember, for those of you that are watching, if you want to see that sightings video again, it is available only on Patreon. So if you want to see any of the past sightings videos that we've done, we've got 8 or 10 of them on there. They are on the Patreon page. So sign up there and you can watch all the past sightings. And by the way, last week's sighting, my father-in-law seeing the
Yeah.
craft. Lynn, tell him what he said.
He watched the video during the week last week, and when I was over there yesterday, he came and found me and said, I want to talk to that astronaut. I want to know where he saw that. He said that was exactly what I saw. He
Yeah.
said it's hard to tell somebody, hey, I saw something flying that wasn't a plane and it was as big as a football field. He said people think you're crazy.
Yeah.
He said, so you don't really want to tell them, he said, but I know what I saw. He said, and this picture that this astronaut had done is exactly what I saw over my yard.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yep, I was trying to find it here, and I don't remember where I put it. I've lost it. Okay, so you have
Tom
to go
came
back.
running in here with the 2 pictures. Look at this. Look at this.
Yeah, I mean, it to me, it was what. Well, here's the original sketch he drew.
I have the picture if you want it.
You have it,
Well, you.
but
based
that's the
our-
original drawings that my father-in-law made.
Yeah,
And
you
then
can't hardly
that-
see it.
Then that picture, I should have thought about it and put it up here. But anyway,
I have
that.
a teeny tiny one on our little.
Yeah,
It became our group.
yeah, I made it our group photo for
There you go.
our ETs.
Yeah.
But that it was an astronaut got an artist to draw what he saw, and so
Betty was amazed.
yeah. I mean, I haven't had a chance to talk to him, but she talked to him, and he was just blown away. But he said that's exactly what I saw. Okay, we ready to talk ley lines?
Okay.
wasn't that just the coolest music? I just when I found that, I thought that is just perfect for the ley lines intro. So, and it came with the stock video I found of the lines falling down. So I was like, man, that is awesome. Which, by the way, Dagny, you haven't said anything. Nobody said anything about our new intro to the show.
I like how it's so mysterious. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's something captivating
Kind
about
of like
it.
the Matrix falling down, you know.
Yeah, it's like very captivating.
I
Well,
like it better than the last one.
well, last season, StreamYard does the countdown, and we were doing that, and that was cool for a while, but it just got to be old. And then I thought, well, I'm just gonna make my own, to play while we go live, and so that's what I came up with. But then that, I try to do an intro to the topic of the show every time. So, but we're talking about lay of the land, ley lines, this show, and ley lines. The word ley, Ley, is an old Saxon word meaning cleared glade, which can be linked to Lea, meaning a tract of open ground. That's according to the Oxford English Dictionary. Now, on a side note, we used to talk about this in our tours. The word Alabama was originally supposedly a Cherokee Indian word, Alabama, which means thicket clearers. So it just kind of makes you wonder what they were thinking when they came up with the word Alabama. Did the ancient Cherokee Indians know something of ley lines? Because to me, it's just a little too close. And during my research for the tours, I came across, and you may have seen this on the video link, the thumbnail for the ley lines, and this came from that geometryofplace.com, the Pilot Mountain Wheel, the Arcadian ley, and I'm sorry I can't zoom in on it on here, but you'll see it going from the lower left to the upper right. It goes right through Mobile, Stone Mountain, Georgia, Pilot Mountain, Washington, D.C., and on up through the major cities up there. And it also goes through what's called the American Stonehenge. I think it's in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
And it literally follows. If you follow that line and take it straight, it goes. I think Mexico City too on the other direction. But if you follow it straight, it goes through all of those locations and across the Northern Atlantic and crosses through Stonehenge as well. So Mobile has a connection there. Now, in 1921, Alfred Watkins began to notice a pattern of mounds and ancient sites across England, and they were in straight lines. He began to call them leys, Leys, but eventually coined the term ley lines. Watkins documented his research in a book called The Old Straight Track. I thought I had a picture of that book, but I forgot. Anyway, he is credited with the discovery of the St. Michael's ley line, and these are some ancient monuments that are in a line that, if you'll look, they're all named something to do with St. Michael.
How weird.
And he figured out that they are all in a straight line. Now, this is some of his notes and scribblings from checking out the ley lines. But one thing Watkins did not do, and we need to remember this because he gets credited with a lot, he never did in that book attach any mysticism to ley lines. He was just talking about, hey, this is out there. These are straight lines. But it wasn't until John Michel began to check into this that any kind of ancient power began to be related to ley lines. Now, he began to dig into... I'm sorry?
What's he smoking? I'm just looking.
Guess. And you'll probably be right.
He looks very comfortable.
and it's not a Marlboro or a Camel.
My man.
But he began to dig into ufology and earth mysteries after hearing a talk given by Jimmy Goddard on lays. He equated these lines with the ancient Chinese mythological Lung Mei, or dragon lines, Julie. More on that later. He believed there was a magnetic energy arising naturally from the ground. Now, he established a group known as the Research into Lost Knowledge Organization, or RILCO, in 1969, which, by the way, that group still exists today. It is, they still do the same thing. They're dedicated to studies in patterns, hidden knowledge in myth, legend, number, geometry, art, music, architecture, megalithic structures, and the geomantic layout of cities and landscapes. Now, the global community, we're still talking about what are ley lines, folks. We're going to get into some stories here in a few minutes, so hang with me, just so we know what we're talking about here. The Global Community Communications Alliance talks about two different things: an energy reflective circuit, which is the energy fields on a planet that allow for, get this, interdimensional communication and transportation.
There you go.
Also known in lower level terminology as vortexes. And ley lines are the grid lines of energy between energy reflective circuits used for communication and transportation. Now, my favorite author is Stephen Lawhead. You can find him at stephenlawhead.com, and he wrote a series of books a few years back. There's 5 books in the series, and this is what it's all about. I'm fixing to play you a little video from the promotion for the first book.
My life was heading nowhere. But sometimes, taking just one turn outside of familiar can open up a whole new reality. I missed the train on the way to my girlfriend's and I got lost. By the same token, found. My great-grandfather, dead for more than 100 years, just appears. He tells me he needs me for some urgent matters, that I have a gift. An ability to travel to other worlds using ley lines. All I had to do was jump.
And would you love to
was
see
awesome.
that? Wouldn't you love to
Yeah.
see that
That
made
would
into a
be
movie?
Yes. Was it not? Was that
Oh,
just
it
a
is.
documentary?
No, that's just a promo for the books. That's all it
That was
was.
awesome.
I can help him on that.
I know. I want to watch it
That's
right now.
awesome.
And the books, that's the premise of the book. This is from the description of it. The ley lines throughout Britain are not merely the stuff of legend or the weekend hobby of deluded cranks, but pathways to other worlds. To those who know how to use them, they grant the ability to travel the multi-layered universe of which we ordinarily inhabit, but only a tiny part. And the series of books centers around that guy there. His name is Kit, and his grandfather shows up and shows him how to use ley lines, and how they use ley lines as a jump to other worlds and other dimensions and other timelines and they ended up in ancient Egypt. They ends up in Austria. I mean, it's in Japan. I mean, and the skin map that they're talking about is the map for the ley lines.
That's so cool.
And this guy was had traveled and learned the ley lines, and so he would go to Japan every year or so to his tattoo artist, who would tattoo the symbols on there, and his entire body was covered with these tattoos of the symbols of how to find the ley lines.
You're giving me the creeps. You need to stop.
But anyway,
Not the tattoo, it's called mapping. That is that exact thing. It's a real thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
anyway, people are trying to, after he died, they what can I say? They leatherized his skin. And so that's
Tanned it.
what tanned his hide. Anyway, that was and the premise of the first book is different people trying to find this map. You know,
what is the author again?
Stephen Lawhead.
I love it.
Yeah, so Dagny, you got a friend on here.
Oh, awesome.
Lilu. That's my doggy's name. That's
Your
my
dog.
very favorite character in all the movies in the whole wide world, Lilu.
Oh, wow.
Favorite,
Okay.
My favorite movie of all time.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
Fifth Element. Yes, Lilu. That was my doggy that was sitting up here because he's the fifth element that pulled my life together.
Oh,
Aww.
wow. Cool.
Hey, Lilu, Dallas.
Well, I guess that's who Dagny reminds me of. Okay. All right. Now, ley lines and vortexes, intersecting ley lines create vortexes or spirals of energy, just like chakra. Ley line researcher David Cowan theorized that these spirals or vortexes are either negative, black spirals, or positive, white spirals, much like the theory of yin and yang energy. It is believed these vortexes are capable of healing and aligning with our energy as well as Mother Earth. Many people use them to meditate, hold rituals, and engage with this energy directly. Now, that's from Ferry Leone's Crystal's website article, Ley Lines, Vortexes, and Crystal Earth. And just today, this popped up on my memories on Facebook, and I thought it would be appropriate to share right here. This sign was found in Omaha, Nebraska late last year. There has yet to be any official explanation, and no one knows who put it up. This is a kindred interdimensional monitoring point. Please close all portals when finished to help minimize interdimensional contamination.
That's awesome.
That's totally something I would do.
Now, Rosemary Ellen Gurley at occultworld.com said ley lines have been used for funeral processions and in lore have become known as roads traveled by the dead. And that's where we start at the jumping off point for getting into the paranormal side of ley lines. And we introduced Julie earlier in the show, and she had shared with us how a house she lived in was on a ley line. And she's going to tell us about that right now.
So this house, I lived in this house for 20 years, but probably 5 to 8 years prior to that, it was empty. And I would just stumble upon the house because it'd been empty for probably 40 years anyway. And so I would go sit in the house and it just kind of called my name all the time. And I would just go sit in the house. It was an old kind of split level house, nothing really special, concrete block, but built into the side of the hill. And it was on a bayou. And I just felt it calling my name all the time. And I would just go sitting there and just, hang out and just feel the energy. This is where I told you, Tom, that I could see the little footprints, coming
Wow.
across the floor, footprints, or I could see the
Wow.
little girl's handprints going up the side, because they were just trying to talk to me, and there was nothing ever negative about it. It was all very, very benevolent. It was very sweet and very loving, and I felt very at home there. So years later, got married into a family where there was already children, bought the house, and stayed there 20 years. Upon the very beginning of moving in, there were what people would call supernatural things happening. The 4 boys would come up screaming, "Mom, this is what's going on. Look what happened." Hot spots, cold spots, things flying across the room, slingshots that we couldn't find, all of a sudden being slung up against the door, and then, the rubber shaking on the floor and as if it had just been thrown there. Just a magnificent number of supernatural things going on. I always thought it was fantastic. I never, ever felt threatened there. I always thought it was a very beautiful thing and very natural thing, and felt very calmed by it. Children, not so much, we would, hear somebody calling the dog's name, hear somebody calling one of their names. And then we would see, it had been a duplex, one up and one down. That's the way it was built. And then when it was made into a whole house, there was a stairway that had been cut into the side of the house. So at some point you could hear somebody running up the stairs and literally see a pair of wet jeans and wet tennis shoes running up the stairs.
Wow.
Because it was inhabited by several very, very strong spirits. One of them was a 17-year-old boy that we validated that had died behind the house.
Holy cow.
He had pretty much stayed there. The kids would have people spending the night, and they'd come in and they'd say, "Mom, tell them about Roger." And I'd say, what do you mean? And the guest would say, "There's a wet boy standing in the shed. Look at us." And I'm like, "It's okay. It's just Roger. He's fine. He's fine."
Wow.
And he just noticed, and he wanted to be one of the kids. He was only 17. He would play the guitar. Yes, he drowned, but he was actually drowned because he had witnessed something that happened at the end of the bayou. So there was that, and then there was a tiny girl, but all of this would go on, and it just seemed like there was a lot of other things that electrically, magnetically, stuff would never work in the house. And we had people come in and investigate it. We didn't know it. This has been 20 years ago now. I've been divorced 16 years, so it's been a long time ago. But they would say it was because it was a hydrostatic pressure, because it was built on the water and had pressure coming through the walls, but the walls would just drip, and the handprints would reappear every time the walls would start dripping. So I am of the pagan persuasion, so I had a pentagram and a North Star with all the, air, fire, water, earth, all the points of the earth put in it. And we just threw down a compass, and immediately it landed in the right spot that pointed completely to north. So we could go out to that spot, and there were certain times that, when the seasons would change, that you could just feel a vortex, literally. And that's what I think I said in my bio to you, is that we felt vortexes in the house, and that is exactly how it felt. Now, to me, a ley line at that time, I had never heard of it being the point of 2 megalithic structures. To me, it was where the Michael and the Mary lines crossed, where the negative and the positive crossed, and it created this energy because of magnetics. That, in my mind, that's how it had been explained to me. Because I don't think we're near it as advanced as we are now, obviously, with MRI and all that kind of technology. But it was just a very magnetic force. We had used dowsing rod, we had used the rods, all those kind of things. They would just go, woo, 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 and pendulums would just swing and all that kind of stuff, because the magnetics were just off the chain in that particular home. And there were spots of the home that were that could not be explained. They should have been open areas, but they had been filled in with blocks and blocked off. And who knows why certain things happen in years past, right? So it was just a very, very good place for me. Plants grew like crazy.
Cool.
I mean, just it was very, very abundant. I felt an energy. I felt it was all positive, other than one. I think I told you there was one. There was a dark man that it was a shadow person that was a little bit creepy. He didn't ever bothered me when I was out of town. He would kind of creep on the other people there, but when I was there, it never seemed to bother me very much.
Right.
We had unsolved mysteries, ghost hunters, just all kinds of different shows at the time come in and try to film there. And invariably, even local shows, like the local guy here, Paris Janos and Chris King, those guys, they won't go near the house anymore because they got the crap scared out of them every time. They would want to do a Halloween show where there's a ghost and flings in the night. And all it takes is for you to say, really prove it to me. And boy, they would. And anything snapping tapes out of their hand to knocking their cameras over to taking all their batteries and draining them all at one time. Things like that could have been because of the ley line. It necessarily doesn't have, it didn't have to be spirit activity, but nonetheless, it was weird to them. To me, it was just like, it's all in a day, but there was just a lot of things that went on. And like I said, Radio Shack could have never done tests there because batteries never lasted more than a couple of hours in anything. We'd buy the kids remote control things and they would just be gone. Take them over to grandma's and they'd work just fine, but they would not work in that house. So it was just 20 years full of just a lot of different oddities. And I've always felt, since I was a child, that I could read, I could see dead people. I could see the things the cats were seeing. So that's not weird to me. But to combine that on a property that did have what felt like vortexes and openings, I think that I learned to be careful about how you open that. Anytime I did any type of reading, always bless the area, and you make the area sacred, and you contain it to only positive light and positive energy coming through, because there were times when you could feel that negative energy coming in, and it's like, that's not what we invited in. You need to shut that down. And there was a spot where the dog bowls always sat that was just absolutely ice cold.
Wow.
After we had bred our Shar-Pei puppies, they all became sick with parvo, and the vets are like, they're just going to die. They're going to die. So I took them and I put them all in that one space and just sat there and just watched them. And you could see all of a sudden the breeze start to come around them, and they all looked up and took a sniff, and every one of them made it. You talk about healing properties. It's a real thing.
Wow.
This will heal you. I'm telling you, it's not a joke.